Coming up on WVUA 23 News, we're cooling down soon. Stick around to find out how much.
An Alabama Crimson Tide faced off against the South Carolina Gamecocks today, how fans tailgate before an 11 a.m. kickoff, and what foods they bring. And several voter deadlines are quickly approaching ahead of the 2024 election. What important details you need to know before November 5th? WVUA 23 News starts right now.
This is WVUA 23 News at 10.
We're glad you're with us, and I'm Laura Vale. Tonight, topping our news, the Crimson Tide narrowly beat South Carolina. Sports Director Gary Harris is in to discuss the struggles Bama faced today and more. Gary?
Hey, Laura, thank you. The good news is Alabama won the game against South Carolina. The bad news is they barely did, and there were plenty of mistakes again today. Now, it wasn't the bounce-back performance that will silence critics and alleviate concerns about this team. Alabama's 27-25 win over South Carolina was a badly needed win and an act of survival following last week's shocking loss to Vanderbilt in Nashville. Alabama scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and avoided a collapse in the final minute to improve to 5-1 overall and 2-1 in the SEC. The Crimson Tide faced 3rd and 10 from the USC 34-yard line, and Milroe found Jeremy Bernard wide open for a 34-yard touchdown and a 27-19 lead. The only problem was Carolina was out of timeouts, and if he doesn't score, Bama could have kneeled it out. Instead, leading by 8, the Tide kicked off, and the Gamecocks went right down and scored. They didn't convert the 2-point play to tie the game, but got an onside kick. And it finally took a Damani Jackson interception to seal the deal for Alabama on the final play of the game. Let's hear now from a relieved Kalen DeBoer.
Another game down to the wire. We're kind of getting accustomed to those. I think there's some things that we can certainly do to make sure that doesn't get to that point. But we always talk about finding a way to win. And as many times it maybe looked like we weren't, we did.
They did, and that's the bottom line. It's hard to win in this league. And I'll have so much more later in sports, including full game highlights and the reaction from Alabama players. That's all for now. Laura, back to you.
And Bama fans had an early start to the tailgating festivities today. With kickoff at 11 a.m., fans were up as early as 8 a.m. to hit Champions Lane and the Quad. Fans enjoyed sunny weather under tailgate tents with TVs ready to watch the game. Many fans came prepared with breakfast foods for their tailgates, including bacon-wrapped meals, baked dishes, and biscuits. The UA baseball team signed autographs, and the morning concluded with the Walk of Champions at 11 a.m., led by our head coach, Kalen DeBoer. The biggest food drive of the year is happening now through November 21st. The Beat Auburn, Beat Hunger food drive is put on by the West Alabama Food Bank and the Center for Service and Leadership. In competition with Auburn University, Beat Auburn, Beat Hunger challenges both schools to donate and collect foods for local food banks. In 2023, the campaign was able to raise over 300,000 pounds of food for the West Alabama Food Bank. Molly Starr joins us in the studio for a first look at weather. Molly, what kind of weather will this work week see?
Hey, Laura. Well, I have some good news. So tomorrow's Sunday, the last little bit of our weekend, and we can expect this to be the hottest day of next week if you count Sunday as the first of the week. We'll see those sunny skies we've been seeing. Those aren't going away anytime soon. It'll be a very calm day, maybe a little windy, but that temperature is reaching 85. And look at this. 85 is the high of all next week. We've got a little bit of a drop Monday. Now, the models have come back up a little bit on Tuesday, but we should still see those 60 degrees by Wednesday, warming up into the weekend, but we'll still stay in those 70s, and I'll have more for you guys in weather.
Milton is responsible for at least 17 deaths, with search and rescue missions still underway on Friday. Sherelle Hubbard has the latest on the rescue efforts.
New video has come flooding in, documenting search and rescue missions from Hurricane Milton. This rescue video of a 91-year-old woman from her house in Lithia, Florida, near Tampa, where the Alafia River crossed flood stage Thursday and over 24 feet Friday. Rescue officials carried the woman to safety in a rescue boat in front of the house. In Tampa, rescuers helped evacuate a flooded assisted living facility.
What we saw was pretty devastating. A lot of homes almost rolled into the water. I've never seen it before. I've lived on the water for 30 years.
Milton made landfall as a Category 3 storm, bringing tornadoes, torrential rain, and storm surge. Body cam footage shows deputies wading through deep water, guiding multiple people nearby to safety as they hold on to a rope. In Valrico, Hillsborough County deputies were still evacuating people from flooded homes Friday.
We're at 6 feet deep. We have some people who believe that it might get as high as 20 feet.
Officials warning that floodwaters in some areas have not receded yet, and some officials cautioning residents not to make a bad situation worse.
It's just unprecedented damage, and it's most important to be careful with that. Stay out of the floodwater. You don't know what's in there.
I'm Sherelle Hubbard reporting.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says that there have been some fatalities due to downed power lines and standing water. Officials are advising that people don't drive through floodwaters or wade through floodwaters. Governor Kay Ivey has ordered flags be flown at half-staff in Tuscaloosa County on Monday, October 14th, to honor Tuscaloosa County Deputy Sheriff Tim Johns, who passed on October 8th. 62-year-old Deputy Tim Johns served as Brookwood High School's resource officer for 7 years and with the Sheriff's Office 26 years. Deputy John was highly esteemed by his community and colleagues and by the students and staff at Brookwood, where he was recently honored as Homecoming Parade Marshal. Flags within Tuscaloosa County may be flown at half-staff from sunrise until sunset on Monday. A public hearing on the planned Sports Illustrated Resort is Tuesday, October 15th at 6 p.m. The Tuscaloosa City Council will hold their public hearing on the 9-story facility at City Hall. Residents last week had the chance to attend a public Q&A to voice concerns about the new development. Councilman Kip Tyner has voiced support for the development, saying the $250 million investment is good for the city. However, citizens voiced their concerns, many regarding the potential eyesore the resort could bring to the city. Alabama Secretary of State Wes Allen wants to remind Alabamians to register to vote before the upcoming general election. Alabama has more than 3 million registered voters, but often the state sees abysmal voter turnout. As the general election approaches, there are some important deadlines to remember. In-person voter registration ends October 21st at the close of business. The last day to apply for an absentee ballot is October 29th by mail and October 31st in person. November 4th is the last day to return an absentee ballot in person, and noon November 5th is the deadline for mailed absentee ballots. Manufacturing giant Boeing is about to lay off a large part of its workforce. How many employees will this affect? And there's less than 4 weeks left before the election day. How will the battleground look on the campaign trail? We'll have those stories and more when we return. There are less than 4 weeks left before Election Day, and the battleground sprint is about to kick into overdrive. Karen Kafa is at the White House with a big look at the political names hitting the trail.
Every vote counts, but voters in 2024's key battleground states can expect a little more attention between now and November 5th.
Thank you, Pennsylvania.
It's good to be back in Michigan.
The candidates are becoming more frequent flyers to Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, North Carolina, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, zeroing in on the issues they feel will resonate most with each state's voters, like the economy and manufacturing in Michigan.
We will ensure that the next generation of breakthroughs, from advanced batteries to electric vehicles, are not only invented but built right here.
I intend for the triumph of the American auto industry to be among my greatest legacies. I want it to be a legacy.
And immigration in Arizona.
We ought to focus on our own people and put their interests first. That's what the American leadership exists for.
This issue should not divide us, it should unite us.
And getting help from high-profile allies like former President Barack Obama's first campaign stop for Vice President Kamala Harris in Pittsburgh Thursday.
She doesn't have concepts for a plan. She has an actual plan to make your life better.
On Wednesday, former President Donald Trump said no to another debate with Harris before Election Day. That means no more head-to-head events.
We don't have a tentpole event between now and the end, between now and the finish line.
And leaves candidates to put their ground games to the test.
According to letters from Harris's physician released today by the White House, Vice President Harris is in excellent health to serve as president. If Trump wins the election, he will become the oldest person ever elected to the Oval Office. He has not released his actual medical records. Some Boeing employees should start updating their resumes. The manufacturing giant announced its plan to cut about 10% of the company workforce. Boeing has more than 170,000 employees worldwide, the vast majority of those in the U.S. This is among the cost-cutting moves taken by new CEO Kelly Ortberg, who took the helm at Boeing in August. He says Boeing needs to refocus resources and not spread itself too thin. The company is also dealing with a strike of 33,000 hourly workers. Talks between the two sides broke down earlier this week.
It's going to hurt a lot of people, hurt a lot of families, and a lot of people are going to be out of jobs and out of work.
Earlier this year, Boeing laid off 128 workers at the Huntsville facility, with the job cuts starting during June. The aircraft maker operates a facility in Huntsville that employs almost 3,300 workers in the state. And the next Starship flight test launch is set for Sunday morning. On Saturday, federal regulators granted SpaceX its long-awaited license to move forward with the 5th uncrewed test launch. Starship is the most powerful rocket system ever constructed. The Super Heavy rocket booster, topped with the Starship spacecraft, is set to lift off from the company's Starbase facility in Boca Chica, Texas. There is a 30-minute launch window that starts Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern.
Well, still ahead, we have a little bit of a taste of fall coming our way. Come back after the break to find out more. Well, happy Friday. We're going to start out with our temperatures because these are a lot cooler than they were earlier today. We hit those 80s today, but now we're in the 50s. Birmingham's still at 61, Montgomery's still at 60, but we got 57 in Talladega, 55 over in Gadsden. Well, what can we expect for the rest of the night? Again, I'm matching Birmingham's temperature. We're going to cool down a little bit more, hit those mid-50s, and then we're going to warm up into those early afternoon hours tomorrow. We're following that same pattern. As you can tell, it's completely dry out there. We haven't seen clouds for a few days, and honestly, it's not looking like it's going to change. Well, with this again tomorrow, luckily tomorrow should be the hottest day of the week. We've got 85 coming in tomorrow. Southwest wind, if there is wind, this could be more of a 3 p.m. kind of wind, but it's going to be a calm, warm, sunny day, which is good if you're wanting to go out to eat before, after church, maybe just for lunch. Well, we've got our food forecast. If you're going for breakfast, I only gave it 4 out of 5 stars because it could be a little chilly in those mid-50s depending on what time you're going. If you're going before church, it might be a little chilly, might need a sweater. But if you're going after, you might hit those 60s, and then maybe dinner, it should start cooling down from those 80s into the 70s. It's a perfect day to go out and just enjoy that food. Well, like I said, 85 tomorrow, but we're cooling down. We've got a trough coming over us, bringing in some cooler air. Now, the models have come up a little bit on Tuesday, but we still should see 60s by Wednesday into Thursday, still hitting those lows. Well, it's October, which means there's a lot of holidays coming up. So let's take a look at how many days we have until certain holidays. Now, we've got Columbus Day on Monday. Halloween's in 19 days. We've got Election Day coming up. And then we've got all the fun holidays. We've got Thanksgiving, winter beginning. We've got New Year's in 81 days. So a lot less time than you would think. Well, let's take a deep dive at this extended forecast. So again, Sunday is the hottest day this week. It's going to be sunny, and I put a 5% chance of rain on Monday. I do want to emphasize this is a shower that is appearing to come between the hours of midnight and 1 a.m. So it shouldn't affect hardly anyone, but I did want to put it on there just in case someone out there is going to be out and about during those hours. But again, so those clouds might be sticking around until the early morning, but it should be mostly sunny for the rest of your day. Cooling off into the 70s Monday, Tuesday, mid-70s. Looking at the lows, diving into the 40s. Wednesday and into Thursday are coolest days of the week. We're warming up a little bit into the next weekend, but it should still stay relatively cool comparative to what we've seen. And that's a look at your local forecast.
Hi, I'm Dr. Milady Murphy for this week's Your Personal Best. The American Cancer Society recommends a combination of exercise, proper healthy nutrition, and screening to lower the risk of breast cancer. What is recommended in exercise is 150 minutes a week of large muscle group activity, such as biking, swimming, walking, dancing, even vacuum cleaning and sweeping the floors are all forms of aerobic exercise. This type of activity regulates the hormones estrogen and insulin, which are contributors to breast cancer. Healthy nutritional choices are also recommended. More plant-based foods, such as fruits and vegetables and whole grains, especially those vegetables like cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and kale and cauliflower. They're powerful enough to regulate those hormones, estrogen and insulin, again, which are the contributors of breast cancer. And then last but not least, working with your physician to get the proper screening. These factors all lower the risk of breast cancer. But if it's caught early, the outcome is better. And so until next time, be safe and practice wellness.
And coming up, another wild day of SEC football, headlined in these parts, of course, by Alabama. A week after losing to Vanderbilt, the Crimson Tide had their hands full with the South Carolina Gamecocks. Full coverage next in WVUA 23 Sports. And welcome back to the News at 10. I'm Gary Harris. As we talked about earlier in the newscast, Alabama football narrowly escaped a second straight loss this afternoon, beating South Carolina 27-25. We've got all the highlights for you. Now, Bama came out ready in this one after a tough week following the loss to Vanderbilt. South Carolina won the toss and deferred, and Alabama hit the ground running. Milroe finds Jeremy Bernard for 30 yards and a first down. And then Jalen is going to cap off a game-opening 9-play, 75-yard drive with the short touchdown. Bama up 7-0. And the Bama defense feeling it. They played a lot more three-linebacker stuff today. This is Justin Jefferson sacking Lenoris Sellers for a loss. And then in the second quarter, Justice Haynes is going to plow across from 2 yards out. It's 14-0. And Alabama like they were cruising in this game again, but South Carolina would score 12 points in the final 137 of the second quarter, a 4th and 9 touchdown pass, a safety, and then this interception. He gets out of bounds with 1 second, they ruled, would lead to a field goal in the final play of the half, and it was 14-12. Carolina, remember, deferred, so they get the ball coming out in the third quarter, and the Gamecocks opened the second half with a 16-play, 75-yard, 8-minute, 40-second drive. Rocket Sanders goes in. It's 19-14. South Carolina's got the lead. But the defense coming up big. Sellers fumbles, LT Overton recovers, and Milroe is going to go in from 7 yards out. Bama up 20-19. With 1:54 to go, 3rd and 10, Milroe to Jeremy Bernard, 34-yard touchdown. Looks great, except when you consider the fact that South Carolina had no timeouts. That made it 27-19. If you go down there, you can kneel it out, but South Carolina got it back. Amazing catch by Nick Harbor with 43 seconds to go. Made it 27-25. Alabama defends the 2-point play, though. And you look like you're getting out there with a win. Not so fast. The onside kick cannot be handled by Alabama. The Gamecocks recover, and it looked like they might be able to get a field goal to try to win it. But Damian Jackson here with the pick, and that is going to close it out. Damani Jackson with the pick in the end zone. Finally, Alabama wins 27-25. Kalen DeBoer said he was proud of how his team responded.
The biggest thing I'm proud of is the response, starting early in the week. Today, there's things I think that happened because of the way they came ready to practice, whether it was just a response Sunday after we got together and kind of talked over the truth of what we had happen a week ago, and then Tuesday, just back to work. So, very, very unified group that understands that there's still so much more we can get better at.
So it wasn't always pretty, but the players reminded me after the game that in the end, they got the desired result.
That was very big. We talk about it all the time. It's hard to win in the SEC, and they're a really good team, and we took care of it today. That's all we can ask. We're going to go look at the film, see what we need to improve on, but a win's a win, and we're never going to take that for granted.
It's very big, especially after last week. We kind of had to put that behind us, but it's very big against a really good team that, could very be, undefeated, you know what I'm saying? And, they're so close to winning games. That's a great team.
Pretty good, man. It's not the dub that we wanted. It should have been a lot more dominant and physical, but a dub is a dub, man.
It was so important throughout the whole game. It's all about finish and maximize every time we had an opportunity to put in display our offense. And I think that was so important, especially in the fourth quarter, because it's all about finish. That's when you can really implement the finish mentality, and I think that was so important.
On the other side for South Carolina, it was a close but no cigar game. After a subpar performance last Saturday at home against Ole Miss, Gamecocks head coach Shane Beamer said he expected a strong performance from his football team, and he got it.
We came up a little bit short. Says we had a bad day last week that we regrouped from because we got a bunch of fighters in that room that love to compete and love to work, and I hurt for them. And that's what I told them in the locker room, Jack, is I've hurt for them because we're sick of this feeling, and they work too hard during the week to come in here on Saturdays and feel like that in that locker room across that wall right there as well.
And let's run down a crazy day in the SEC. Ole Miss trying to squeeze it out at LSU, fourth quarter, leading 26-14. Tennessee needed overtime, but they knock off Florida. Big win for the Vols, setting up that third Saturday night October showdown against Alabama, 23-17 the final. Also tonight, it was Vanderbilt. This has gone final. The Commodores, I guess, not a one-trick pony. They win in Lexington over Kentucky. Now a final 20-13. Georgia had some struggles with Mississippi State, but wins in Athens 41-31. And it was Texas bombing Oklahoma out in Dallas 34-13. And Missouri wins at UMass in a non-conference game 45-3. Also, let me pass along a couple of other scores in state. Laura, West Alabama's 5-0. They beat Mississippi College 26-0, and UAB loses big again to Army 44-10. So that's your Saturday in college football.
All right. Well, thank you, Gary. Stick around. We'll be right back. Today is National Gumbo Day. The heavily seasoned dish originated in southern Louisiana during the 18th century and is even the official cuisine of the state. Gumbo gained widespread popularity in the 1970s when it was added to the U.S. Senate's cafeteria in honor of Louisiana Senator Allen Ellender. It typically consists of meat or shellfish and what Cajun chefs consider the holy trinity of seasoned vegetables, which are celery, bell peppers, and onions.
Oh, I love that. I love gumbo. I just love that.
Well,
all right, look at sports, Gary.
LSU trying to cook up some gumbo against Ole Miss, but they trail 23-16 late in the fourth quarter.
All right, well, that's our show. Have a good night.